Sometimes I get sensitized to these kinds of issues, and I think that if we're going to be a student body that represents their constituents, then we need to be as constitutional, as by the book as we can. And I think what's expected of us is accountability, and if there isn't any accountability, then we're not a legitimate organization. And so if things haven't been constitutional, which they clearly haven't, then somebody needs to be held accountable. And if it is the case, which it's been documented that it is, that the Supreme Court hasn't heard cases that have been put forth toward it that it is obligated to hear, then something needs to happen. And I think that even though it seems really drastic, I think that we need to consider it a drastic measure that needs to be implemented.
Cody.
For starters, I'd like to say I feel as if Linda took the words out of my mouth. It's exactly as I feel. Regardless now how Penn students feel, I think that is because of the drama that have happened in the Senate, because of the arguments that are going on. I'm sure their attitude now is we don't even care, just get it over with. I think if we employ this now, it would fix it in the future. I also agree with Senator Kayat in that it may seem drastic, but we tried everything. We've approached the Supreme Court justices several times, and for whatever particular reason, they seem extremely resolute on this, and I'm not quite sure why. I'd also like to say that, no, I think that's it. I think we should definitely go forward with this. We've approached them so many times now, and I think at this point I'm out of sympathy.
Paul.
That was a funny thing about McMillian, by the way. Actually, I got all of their names from the SGA website. Which was, I had hoped, updated. So I guess that's part of the larger problem within SGA and not just the Senate. Regardless of that, I just wanted to address a couple other things. I like what everyone has said so far on making sure this doesn't happen in the future as well. And I forgot to address Deep's suggestion earlier, too, about passing changes so we know what happens when the system fails like this. And Dr. Myers and I actually talked about that today, in fact. And I'm working on some constitutional/bylaw changes for next year that will lay out exactly what happens if people can't vote on ULINK, just to make sure that this doesn't happen again. And last of all, I just want to say that, yeah, I'm going to reiterate a little bit what they said. Impeachment does seem extreme, but what's more extreme to you and what's more extreme to the student body? Impeaching a court that has not done its constitutional job, or seeing 100 students who have been disenfranchised so much they don't even care anymore? As for me, the last one's a bigger travesty, but I'll leave that up to your personal preference.
Laura.
I just wanted to point out that this is becoming a fast repeat of what happened a month ago, and for the sake of time, I think we all should consider moving to vote with the consideration that since everyone in this room pretty much agreed that we should redo these elections, then I think everybody in here should also agree that if the Supreme Court won't work with our desires, then we should just go ahead with this, and I move to vote.
Also,
Move to impeach.
we also have letter 2 and 3 in here as well, which basically support that motion. The motion on the floor right now is to move to impeachment without looking at letter 2 and 3. Is there a second? Just so that everyone's on the same
or
page.
provide some input
Second.
since we're being impeached.
Point of order.
Because no one yielded the floor to you, I can't right now. However, everyone just heard that this court does want to speak, so keep that in mind when you vote.
Yeah, thank you.
The motion on the floor right now is to go ahead and move to the proceedings of impeaching the court, and it has been seconded. Is there discussion?
Parliamentary inquiry.
Wait, go ahead, I'm sorry.
This vote is to move to the proceedings of impeachment, correct?
Yes.
This is not to impeach the court.
Is
this to move to, no, I'm inquiring parliamentary
I'm
inquiry.
inquiring
Okay.
the person who made the motion.
This is to move to the impeachment proceedings, where we would be in the impeachment proceedings, and logically, the court would have an opportunity to defend themselves during the proceedings, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay,
Not
that
according to the Constitution. That's not how your impeachment process works, right?
that's why I'm asking.
According to the Constitution, if you guys would like to look it up, if you would like to whatever, just
Point of parliamentary inquiry.
I will get to your point, I promise. If you have your computer, if you have your Constitution, if you have whatever, it's all outlined in there how it works. I spent a long time with this today. If you need to look it up, look it up. Your point, Paul, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. was just going to say that there's no motion on the floor right now, so we're just making the motion to impeach, which is debatable. So we're not actually moving to impeach them right now. We're just opening the floor for the discussion of it, because there's no motion.
Okay. Motion on the floor is to open up discussion and to open the proceedings of impeachment, correct? Am I correct? It has been seconded. Is there any discussion on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of moving to impeachment proceedings, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Are there any abstentions? Abstentions are means one. Thank you. All right. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. So we are now into impeachment discussion. Go ahead.
Sorry, I'm kind of new to all this. I'm just a proxy.
It's all right. Will you say who you're proxying for and what's
I'm proxying for Katie Gardner. I'm also the vice president-elect for Speed School.
Okay.
At this time, can I yield the floor to Alex Bromwell?
Yes, you
All
are more
right.
than
I would
welcome.
like to yield the floor to Justice Bromwell.
Thank you.
Megan, does that give me permission to speak as well?
We're gonna have to yield it to you as well. We're gonna let, okay. Bring it here. Alex gets 2 minutes. He gets it 2 minutes, 2 times. If someone yields the floor to him 2 times. In the same case, everybody else gets the same thing. If Brian Bennett gets yielded the floor twice, he gets 2 minutes just like anybody else does. As of right now, Chief Justice Alex Bromeyer, you have the floor. Go ahead.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I had a chance earlier today to read the letter put forth, and still a little confused on at least parts of it. It seems to be addressing 2 separate things. But you're right, a lot of the time spent in the first half of this document or of the discussion tonight focus more on the situation with the Kent School, which is not what we're talking about. We're talking about impeachment proceedings. So addressing those specifically, the court, which is comprised of 6 members right now, not including Olivia McMillan, has conferred with them since we found out that this was going to happen yesterday. And I've had a chance to talk to 4 of our 6. The court as a whole, and I'm only going to speak on behalf of the court, not as an individual. The court is, and has really for weeks now, felt very offended and frankly disrespected by other members of SGA and those involved with the election proceedings this year. Reasons for that are many, and it's not relevant for us to get into that. But what is relevant is that the court is here to serve as the legitimate third branch of SGA. That's what we do. We do our job. Our job is to make interpretations and recommendations of the Constitution and the bylaws, help to manage, and this year actually help promote the election proceedings for SGA general election process. And all of those, in the court's estimation, have been done with the fullest of our talents and efforts. Now, if that isn't to someone's liking, or if someone has ulterior motives for that not to be the case, that's part of what we can discuss tonight. But the court wants it to be known that it is doing what it feels it needs to do as a responsible third branch of SGA. Thank you.
Thank you. And I was incorrect. He took, in theory, he took his spot as one of his choices to speak. He gets another one. Alex can have as many, or whoever gets the floor yielded them, can have as many as you all are willing to give them, as long as you say your 2. Does that make sense? So if Jessica wants to yield it to Barney twice, she can. And Pooja can as well, but they can't yield it to anybody else after that. You guys with me? Okay. Paul.
Well, I know that Alex said that the court's feeling offended. Well, let me tell you what offends me really quickly. It's the fact that the 100 students haven't been able to vote in spite of our best efforts. And Alex can say that the court has done the best of their abilities to try and make everything happen. But in the end, the best of their abilities still falls in the unconstitutional realm. They didn't hear the court case like they were supposed to. They offered an advisory opinion that they had no say in. They refused to acknowledge the date the Senate passed to let the Kents still have their makeup election, and thereby failed to oversee the elections as the Constitution says they have to do. It doesn't matter that the court did their best job. I believe that they did. But what matters is the fact that they did it unconstitutionally. And for me, I didn't mean to offend anyone with these proceedings. Honestly, I'd prefer for the entire thing to have gone away a long time ago and the Kent students to have just voted. But I can't sleep with a clean conscience until I personally try to make sure that they get to vote, whether or not they're so jaded they don't want to anymore.
Thank you. Jerry.
So, I have letter 3 on the table that I'm one of the authors of, so I'll try to talk fast. If later on I might be able to talk more. What it comes down to me, is the integrity of the system. I've worked hard this past year to help promote transparency, and I believe that is the key to making this work. When there was a case brought to the court to try to fix this issue, they ignored it. When the SGA sent it, after hours and hours of debate on a very hard issue, the hard issues don't have any good solutions. None of these solutions that we presented were perfect. We finally came up with a solution, and the court issued an extra constitutional order that basically said the elections are over. The elections were not over. There is still, passed by the body, the SGA Supreme Court body, the justly elected representation of the University of Louisville students on the table. It was passed. It is resolution. It should have been followed. The court decided not to follow it. They decided to take the authority of the SGA Senate and ignore it. The SGA senators, their vote was ignored by the court. This is the check. This is the balance. Our impeachment proceedings today are the check. They are the balance.
Thank
And I
you.
yield.
Allison.
I've been abstaining from a lot of the votes on this topic, and I know that that's hard because I feel like you're on one side of the fence or you're on the other. And this has been difficult for me because constitutionally, I understand where your agreement, where your arguments come from, and everything that you have written down it's a true argument. And I think that, part of the thing that the court can do is concede that mistakes were made and that we wish that they would not have been made, but they were made, and so we tried to do the best that we could. It fell short, obviously, and like I said, your arguments are sound. My biggest issue with this, and which is what tears me up the most, is that when you take a step out of this, like an out-of-body experience, and you really think about why you're here. And for me, it was to make the University of Louisville to be better. It was, as a personal thing. I wanted to leave this place better than how I came into it. And this issue right here is a big issue, but if you believe that impeaching 7 people from our Supreme Court, or 6 people, is going to leave the university better off because 40 people that may or may not care are going to change, you're crazy. You're crazy. And I had the opportunity to go to a KLA this summer where the Northern Kentucky came into office without a president. And it was the most horrible thing for the SGA. And you might have your personal opinions about who was correct or who's not correct, but listen, it's all going to work out. And these people are capable people, and I think that you should really have investments in how things work out. And again, you're right, your guys' arguments are sound, and I think the mistakes that were made. But I really think that you guys should think about the bigger picture in this, because is it what's right for the university as a whole? And get away from your personal issues or agendas or whatever's going on. I'll be gone after this from SGA forever, and I just don't feel as though this is what's going to leave us better off as students and better off as a student government.
Thank you, Allison. Daniel, is that your name?
I just-
Jeremy, I'm sorry. No, Daniel goes and then Jeremy. I am so very sorry, Daniel.
Can I yield? Wait a minute. So did I have 2 yielding opportunities?
You have 2 times to speak.
Okay.
If you so choose to use those as yields, that's your choice. You can yield one, you can keep one. You can use both of them, you can yield both of them. Or you cannot speak at all. Those are your options. Does that make sense?
It does. The first thing I guess is more of a question. Are we saying that the Constitution requires that the Supreme Court hear all of the cases that are presented before it? Is that right?
Technically, can I answer? I guess.
Well, can I answer based off the Constitution?
Because it says, yeah, of course. I'm sorry.
Okay. What I have read, section 6.7.5, and if I'm out of context, please stop me. All cases brought before the court shall be valid and meritorious. The court reserves the right to refuse